Thank
Welcome
you.
to Phuoc. Welcome back. It's good to have you on the show. And then to our special guest today, Adrian Nguyen and Linda Nguyen. Thank you for joining us tonight to have a what I'll call a difficult conversation. Right. Normally, our viewers know that when I host this show, normally I'm talking about laws, regulations, sometimes current events as it relates to issues concerning nail salons. But if many of our viewers know that when we're talking about the professional nail salon industry in America, and particularly here in California and other states that border the coastline with large populations, about 75% of the professional nail industry is comprised of Asian Americans. And within that group, I would venture to say even Vietnamese Americans. So anytime we're hearing issues that involve nail salons, I'm thinking Vietnamese Americans are affected as a community just because there is such a high employment of Vietnamese Americans in this industry. And we're past the elections now, and we're seeing some daylight with the COVID issues, and I think that we're entering another time of challenges that's now just surfacing. I think it's always been there, but it's now surfacing. And what I'm talking about, as Kelvin has alluded to earlier, is the hate against Asian Americans, the Asian hate crimes, right? We're hearing it more, we're seeing it more. And so I wanted to bring on our two special guests today to share their experience from different sides of the country. Adrian, I know you're in Atlanta and you're not too far from where the shootings occurred with the massage salon. So we're gonna, ask you about that. And then on the West Coast here, I know Linda, you're here in Southern Cal, and I know that you have your own personal story, and you've also been, active in trying to address some of these issues and raise the awareness. So as part of that conversation that we're going to have, it's like Kelvin said, it's not the blaming, but it's to understand what is going on, uh, and then looking at how do we move beyond this. What actions can we take here on the show? Our viewers can take, and what can we do to support the most vulnerable in our Asian American community? Our grandparents, our parents, those who typically won't be able to defend themselves, those who are afraid to call the police, those who probably don't even know what's going on for that matter because they're not watching enough of news media and social media postings to understand what's going on, that they could be a victim to this type of crime. So with that said, let me move right into the conversation. First, Adrian, could you introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us a little about the, where you are and the salon and kind of the massage and your salon and kind of, a little background for our viewers.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Nguyen, but I can go by Adrian. I was born in Bien Hoa, Vietnam, and I moved to the United States in 2002. My relationship with the nail salon industry is that it's been part of my family the entire life. The first job that my mom had, and it's still her job to this day, is to be a nail tech, like 15 minutes down the street from my house. I remember when I was 10 years old that my mom would practice on me, and I was just there, as a kid, like trying to peel off the glue from my fingers. Yeah, I live 7 minutes from where the attacks happened. I actually drive past it almost every day to go to the gym. So about like I think the week of where it happened, I think 2 days later, I stopped by to put out flowers, and I realized that I had passed this place all the time, and I've never thought about it. I never thought about the people who were inside. I never thought about the people who go in there. And I saw that the sign was 24 hours, and I just really wish that at that time when I was there that it was open, instead of being closed down with all these flowers and marking it behind it. It was really shocking. I remember when I heard the news that I sat in my car. I didn't even want to get out, and I almost wanted to burst into tears just because I've been so frustrated about this. I've been keeping up with the news for the longest time, and this kind of incident has always been something that I saw, but I never posted and I never shared about it. until a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago, when I saw Vichai, the man in San Francisco that was pushed. And I think that just made me really upset. And I think that kind of brought in something in me, especially being in Atlanta, especially just seeing how the political climate is, especially just being Asian and seeing how much movement and force that we have. Buford Highway and Jimmy Carter Boulevard are both of the places that, I spent my weekends shopping at food with my family, eating there. So, the Vietnamese community has always had a place in Atlanta. And so, when I had heard of the attacks, I immediately thought about, is it, who's next? That's what I thought. I definitely thought it was going to get worse before it was going to get better. And then I saw the movements, and I had went to the rallies the Saturday immediately after that. So I think something in me and something in my generation is that we're all discussing this kind of events because this all relates to us. Whether you're Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, or something like that, we all have parents who work in small businesses. We all have parents who either work in dry cleaners or restaurants. So an attack on a business, an attack on our elders, it's not just saying something that they're attacking a certain group of people. They're attacking us because of our eyes, because of our skin, because of our hair. And I think to me, that is just very upsetting. I've been through the names, the mockery. I know who I am. I know where I'm from. And, it's kind of like something that I'm going to be proud of. I'm going to take up space, and I'm going to be vocal because, the time for silence is over.
Let me turn over to Linda. Linda, if I could have you introduce yourself to our viewers, tell us about yourself and your stories about the discrimination that you've received.
Yeah, so I handle community relations for 360 Clinic. We operate the largest drive-through COVID testing super sites here in Orange County. We have Anaheim Convention Center and OC Fairgrounds, along with 40 kiosks that have been placed throughout Orange County. We were born out of the pandemic. We were a company that started to serve our community during the pandemic. And, that's the irony of it right now. It's the Asian hate, but yet we were the ones who, Vietnamese started this company, went from one, 3 team members all the way to 300 team members. And we did it within 7-8 months. So that's what we've been doing. Again, I handle the community relations. Living here, I was born and raised here in Southern California. And 40 years I've lived here. I have never experienced microaggressions the way I did in this past year. And, living in such a diverse area, whether it's Hispanic, it's Blacks, it's whites, we've had it all. And I have friends, from a multitude of friends. And starting last March, I was at Target, and a couple behind me coughed. I was in line to do an order pickup. A couple behind me coughed, and they giggled, they laughed, and said, "Stay away from her. She has coronavirus." It was such a shocking moment for me because it was my first brush or first encounter with just public racism. I haven't dealt with that before. I mean, of course, we have friends who make fun of you and you joke about things, but this was just, it left me paralyzed. It left me shocked. I went in my car and cried, went home and cried some more. That was the same evening where I was supposed to pick up dinner for my daughter, and sitting in my car for 45 minutes crying, and then having to shake myself off because I was reminded I need to go get my daughter some food. She's at home, she's starving. It was close to 7 o'clock. But I was scared. I was actually scared to walk into Chipotle, like to get her food because of what had just happened. I think a couple of weeks before that at work, a coworker said during a meeting that the pandemic was caused by the China virus. And he looked at me, and everybody who was in the office laughed. I was mortified, I was embarrassed, and I didn't know what to do other than to chuckle along. But of course, I left that meeting I felt horrible. And I actually realized that I'm Asian. I've always been an Asian American, but I realized at that moment, wow, everybody probably thinks I'm Chinese. And Fast forward a little bit, a month later, driving down the street in the local area. Now I feel super safe if I'm within the confines of Little Saigon. I can drive around and feel safe. But once I, venture off outside a little bit into Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa, um, that's where I was encountering when I was at a stoplight, the car next to me, and it happened on two separate occasions where the car next to me would inch up, and one gave me the finger, another, well, my window was up, but I can hear something about Asians, and that really left me in fear for weeks. I actually didn't leave my house for about a good 3 weeks. Holed myself up in the house, didn't want to leave. I was afraid of leaving. And again, I would only drive within the borders of Little Saigon. And fast forward maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was in Costa Mesa, leaving a friend's house. And, on his driveway, a woman looked at me and my daughter and stared at us and said, "Interesting." She took out her cell phone, videotaped us, and said, "We don't belong there." Now, my reaction was just to get my daughter in the car and drive away as quickly as possible. But my fear, and my worst fear, was that she was going to break a window, she was going to do something. You just don't know, especially so late at night. And I just thought, wow, a year ago this happened to me, and a year later it's still happening to me. It happened during the start of, the pandemic, and now it's happening during this Asian hate sentiments. It's unfortunate. It's heartbreaking. What happened? The video that was out yesterday, that really upset me. And I've always said I'm heartbroken. I'm sad that it's happening. But actually, yesterday I was pissed off. I was really angry, and it's just not a good feeling to have.
During COVID, obviously, the statements that were circulated on social media by various elected officials or just individuals that was effectively promoting racism and discrimination, that didn't help. But during that time, what I've noticed, that was more hatred and racism that is directed at individuals, right? What we're seeing now, though, is also a surfacing of the racism and hatred directed towards businesses. In particular, for those of us in California, some of you may be aware that last week there were at least 3 separate nail salons that were recipients of very vile, disgusting, hate-filled letters, messages in these letters. Now, they were sent anonymously. I know that I believe the local sheriffs or police department, they're investigating, trying to determine who it came from. Hopefully they determine that, right? But I know that it's so sad when you're the owner of a nail salon, and I think in these three salons at issue, minority owned, Vietnamese owned. Let's put it that way. They were Vietnamese owned. You're working hard. I mean, I grew up in a family where my mom owned nail salons. Just like you, Adrian, I lived through it. That was my childhood. I'm a product of the nail industry myself. And to see nail salons just receive these vile letters for no reason other than the fact that they're owned by Vietnamese Americans, right? It's so disheartening and concerning, because now we have a 1-2 punch. Nail salons were hit hard the last 12 months by closures nationwide, and here in California, we've had 3 rounds of closures. So that was the big, punch in the gut. Now they're resurfacing, they're opening, and we're seeing these nasty letters being sent to salons. So what's going to happen? It has a psychological effect upon not only the workers and the owners. Hey, is someone going to come in here and shoot us up, or break a window, or some other physical form of violence? And it also has an effect on the customers. I mean, nail salons live and die by the number of customers that walk in their doors, right? And again, here in California, we still have capacity restrictions. So they're not even open at full capacity yet. So, this 1-2 punch is really, really causing some, devastating effects on the nail industry. So let me ask you, Mr. PhD, you're a salon owner. For those who know, his salon is here in Orange County, the Brea area, which is I would say a mix in terms of diversity, but probably more Caucasian than Asian, no doubt. Have you received not necessarily the letters, but other forms of racism or discriminatory remarks or comments at your salon?
Um, First of all, welcome Adrian and Linda to the show. To answer your question, by my salon alone, I have not get any threat or any bad letter or anything at all. But in fact, yesterday, because the heat around is too elevated, so that's why one of the customers bring in the big bouquet of flowers with the nice letter saying thank you for being here with us, and we appreciate for whatever you and your staff do for us, and keep it in mind we always with you. So thank you. On that, we actually we're very happy, but beside around that, for the agent hate, I saw it going up and increasing, like probably like about in the last month and a half, it come up like about 27%. It's so bad. For my salon, it does not have anything. From my experience, I don't have anything, unless I have the good flower coming in. But around like 500 meters around my house, they call by leisure world. Okay, a letter say pack your stuff, and then one let agent to count and something like that, and then you not belong here. Send it to one of the Korean lady, right, she received it right on the date her husband got buried. So FBI and community and police of Seal Beach is working hard on that one, and I hope they will find out this guy who wrote that letter, because one key thing for them is they know the people who live in around that area are very close to that agent lady. Otherwise, who knows the burial day for her husband to send the letter right at that day. So I hope they will find out who they are. And the community is raising the money for $5,000 reward on that one. And cross your finger, and I hope they will catch the guy and see what's going on.
Asian Americans in Atlanta, we might not be one of the bigger cities like San Francisco or New York, or Houston, but we are one of the largest. We are a political factor. In the past two elections, within the runoff in January, along with the November elections, Asian Americans helped turn out the vote. And so there is mobilization that's going on. I think what's going on now is trying to figure out how to community organize and how to come together. I've friends, and I've talked to a lawyer. His name is Christopher Chan. He's been involved with the Asian American Board of Association of Lawyers. And so they're mobilizing things as well. So things are coming together piece by piece. I think right now it's kind of like, what is our message? What do we want to achieve? What action can we take? Because, I was talking to my friend. I had coffee with a friend this morning. His mom works in a restaurant. He's Vietnamese. We're all trying to think of ways like, how do we advance our people's culture and be proudly Asian, be proudly Vietnamese? Because I think for the longest time, there has been a kind of suppression of our voices, either through just by silence or through, acceptance. And so now, this is awakening something in the younger generation. I mean, I'm saying younger, but I'm 27. So, like in our generation as well, like we're seeing it, we're spreading the news, we're sharing it on Instagram. I really don't care. I think like for me, I've never been socially media active. I actually didn't even touch my Facebook account for like 6 months until you guys had reached out. But for me right now, like I am on Instagram, you know, I'm sharing these articles, I'm sharing these news with my friends because I have to make you know. Like, I don't care if you like block me or like unfollow me, but you are going to be aware that this is happening, because this is something like that, you know, that helps me not feel powerless. You know, in December 2020, my house was broken into. My parents' house was broken into twice in 3 years. Like, and I asked the police officer, like, are we being targeted? Like, what is going on? And the police officer just calmly stated that there are gangs across the East Coast of the United States that target Asian Americans' family because they know that they have small businesses, because they think that they keep cash and jewelry inside their houses. And my house is one of those. Like, we are middle class, we are working middle class people. There are 5 Vietnamese households inside my neighborhood, and my dad just told me that the captain of the Johns Creek Police called him and asked, like, you know, this is something that's a pattern. You know, people know that there are Asian people living here. You know, you don't have to go on a phone book. You can just look outside and you can see Asian people doing their daily tasks. And they think that, you know, that's how I feel sometimes. And instead of being scared, you know, like I have been told myself to never be scared of anything. And so right now, I feel like the only times that I can take is to be vocal, to appear on this show, to appear on social media, to talk to my friends, to educate my coworkers. You know, I wrote a newsletter for my organization, the company that I work for, talking about what's happening. I pulled together the board of the associate resource group to help what's going on, because I don't want to sit around and do nothing.
So in the past few weeks, you know, I've been in support of Nailing It. And those who are not familiar with Nailing It, they were born out of the pandemic as well. And they served the community, whether it's giving $30 million worth of PPE to our healthcare workers, donating food to our senior community who are unable to leave their homes. Now, you know, who would have thought a year later we would be transitioning to the Stop Asian Hate movement, where we became this movement where we have to get out there and be heard and tell our stories. And, you know, a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I had said in an interview that, why are we here? You know, we should be home with our children, but yet we're out here being activists. We're fighting for equality, to make ourselves known out there that we exist, you know. And, you know, just Nailing It has done an awesome job getting out there on a weekly basis out here in Southern California, as well as getting the word out through, you know, whether it's going worldwide. And, you know, the reality is, you know, Adrian, you had talked about, you know, going out there and doing rallies and things like that. The reality is a lot of us work full-time. We can't be full-time activists. And I've had this discussion with a friend of mine. It's like, what can we do? Or what can, you know, families do, right? Where they're home, they have to take care of their children. They're unable to be out there as I can be. You know, my daughter's 13 years old, so I do have time to be able to go out and do interviews with the Nailing It team. But in reality, there are days where I just say, I can't be doing this every single day. There are times where I have to decline an interview because, you know, this week I did 5 interviews. I need to spend at least 2 nights with my daughter. Then I started recently to start with my own circle of friends, of non-Asian friends. And it starts there. I had 2 white friends tell me that they had no idea that this was going on. And I just thought, how can you not know? It's all over the news. Like, what do you mean you don't know it's going on?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think when I get those kind of messages, like, it's very heartfelt, but I'm like, dude, I know you're on Instagram. I know you're on Instagram. I know you flick through my stories. Do not pretend like you did not see my stories. Like, don't pretend like this is not going on, because that's an insult to me. Mm-hmm. You know, that's an insult to me. When this stuff happened, I had friends of all different backgrounds reach out. My Black friends were the first people to reach out. Like, my Black friends were the first people that I called to reach out. And to get that kind of statement from my white friends, I was like, damn, dog, like, you really are blind. Like, it's really frustrating when people don't really see this is going on. And I think this relates to how invisible we are.
Based on the conversation, we know now that hate will never go away. It's just a fact. As long as there is love, there will always be hate, folks. Okay? Thank God there's more loving people than there are people that hating. All right? If you listen to what we just talked about, we are a part of this. We are American. We are part of this culture, folks. We are part of this web called the United States, folks. All right? And us, as a nail professional, based on what we heard today, the word that I hear is educate. My fellow nail pros, we have an opportunity to do that. We have an opportunity to educate our clients, folks. How many clients come in and out of your salon that you hold their hands? Folks, it only requires a few minutes of holding the hand to generate a conversation that can make an impact on a society, folks. Sometimes we forget, we're not aware that we have that opportunity, we have that voice. We might be invisible, but our clients, God damn it, they listen to us when they are in our chair. Folks, think about it. Speak up. Don't be silent. Talk to your clients. Ask them what their thoughts is. Because who knows? That particular client might go home and talk to a son who just happened to have a bad day that day, folks. It might make a difference. On that note, folks, we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, okay? I'm going to get the hosts back on track. They've been off track. We are back on track, and we look forward to bringing you the next topic in 2 weeks. On that note, folks, take care of yourself, be safe, and peace out.